So let's take a look at some matchups that you think are key in this one. I know the first one is Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith against Heck or George Fant. So that's the right tackle opposite Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, so it sounds like after a few weeks now of the team kind of rolling with Charlie Heck at right tackle, it looks like George Fant is back getting the first team reps and will be the likely starter for that game. He's definitely performed better than Heck this year. Obviously, Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, one of the best on that side. But Garrett and Smith, I think they're going to move around. They do that from game to game. We talked about that. And nobody's really a match for Myles Garrett, obviously, but I do think that Zadarius Smith, if he does still see the majority of his snaps at right tackle, that's still an advantage for Zadarius Smith, again, who is a top 10 player at his position in key pass rush metric categories for us. So you look at George Fant, for example, 69.4 pass blocking grade, which is about league average. It is definitely better than Charlie Heck. If they do roll with Charlie Heck again, it's an even bigger advantage for Zadarius Smith. Charlie Heck ranks 86th among 89 qualifying offensive tackles in pass blocking grades. So I think it seems like Houston's going to go back to Fant, but either way, I really like the advantage here for the Browns on the edge group.
This is going to be a big one for the Browns defense. Nico Collins against the Browns secondary. I saw Collins has some of the highest yards after catch numbers in the NFL. What do you see with this Collins against Browns secondary matchup?
Yeah, so this is the guy, like you said, he's in the midst of a breakout season. We talked about CJ Stroud struggling against man coverage. Nico Collins does not. He has a 91.6 receiving grade versus man. That's second to only CeeDee Lamb. He also has 4.27 yards per route run versus man, which is third behind CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill. The rest of the Texans receiving options across all positions are nowhere close to that. So Nico Collins, I think, has to be given the special treatment to in this matchup, considering his success this season and specifically in how he can help Stroud kind of overcome some of his own issues against Cleveland's elite man coverage unit, because he's been so good himself. So that, I think, is going to be absolutely the player to kind of hone in on here for the defense.
What do you think they do? How do you? They're not one that usually helps this defense. It's usually lock them up, get after the quarterback. How do you deal with Collins if you're the Browns?
Yeah, that's the thing. I would hope that there's at least a little bit of help there. He's really good at everything. He's not just kind of like an underneath guy or a deep threat guy. He really has done it all this year, which has been a real positive for the Texans offense. So it would have been nice, I think, getting Grant Delpit back, even though I think Juan Thornhill would probably be the over-the-top safety there, obviously, to kind of help in that regard. So I would hope that there's some help over the top, not just leaving guys one-on-one, especially if Denzel Ward can't go. But if they're not going to help, you got to hope that it's because Denzel Ward is playing and healthy in this game. I think he's probably their best chance to go one-on-one with him.
This one also has to concern the Browns offense. So the edge rushers, it looks like Will Anderson, really talented rookie, and Grenard, both will be back. Browns on their fourth and fifth tackles offensively.
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages here for, I think, Houston, right, is Anderson and Grenard questionable for this game. Seems like they'll play, like you said. They're both having great seasons. Jonathan Grenard racking up sacks at a very impressive rate so far. Will Anderson looking like that third overall pick that he was drafted to be. These guys can definitely be dangerous. Unfortunately, the weakness right now for the Browns is at offensive tackle with so many injuries. Jerron Christian, James Hudson kind of been below average at the position so far. Both of those guys sitting at sub 60 pass blocking grades. They both allowed 4 sacks each, around 30 pressures each, which doesn't sound overly bad, but they've only been half-year starters as well. So they're going to need some help there. I really like what Harrison Bryant has done as a pass blocker. I think, getting some running back and chip help to kind of slow those guys down a little bit, because those are the main threats along that defensive line for sure. So hopefully that'll be an area of emphasis here for the Browns pass blocking unit.
All right, the other thing that you say is avoid Derek Stingley. Take us through what you mean by that, what you see with Stingley.
Yeah, so Stingley, after a pretty underwhelming, I think, rookie year, has really bounced back this year, having a great year here in year 2 under DeMeco Ryans. He has an 84.9 coverage grade on the year, which is 5th among all cornerbacks. He's got 5 interceptions, 6 pass breakups on the year. He's allowed just a 53.8% completion rate into his coverage, which is 17th best. And The thing is, he only really stays on that left side, right? So Amari Cooper travels, and not to say that he can't beat Stingley, but there's definitely a lesser of two evils here with the Houston corners, with Steven Nelson on the opposite side, who's been good, but not nearly as good as Derek Stingley. So I'll be really interested mostly just to see how the Browns approach those matchups, because Amari Cooper definitely, the top wide receiver for the Browns. I don't think there's much question about that, where, they may need a little bit more receiving help there. So I think, when it comes to crucial third downs or maybe fourth downs that they need to convert, I think you can take advantage of Stingley staying to one side and kind of avoid him and put Amari Cooper maybe on that other side there and take advantage of that matchup instead. Also David Njoku as well, who's been excellent, but not somebody that necessarily lines up out wide a lot. But I do like him as well.
Before I let you go, any chance you think they travel Stingley with Cooper just based on the success Cooper had that initial matchup?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Like they haven't done it this year. I mean, if I'm a defensive coach, like it's hard, right? Because you see, the coaches see these guys in practice, and cornerbacks maybe do have a tendency to play better on one side or the other, or in the slot versus not, and they kind of know what their strengths are, and they haven't really done it this year. So that's what kind of tells me that they won't do it. But I don't know, like just as an outside observer, as somebody who isn't really familiar with the team, it is something that I think I would at least do if I was the Texans. Is I'd rather have Stingley following Amari Cooper around all game than not. But yeah, we'll see how they do it. It'll be interesting.